be it in Nigeria, be it in New York, be it in Chicago, be it in Aba, be it in Niger State or wherever state you're watching. I just want you to join us and share it as much as you can. I am Odey Christiana. And with me is, I hope I was pronouncing your name well, Ajiri Omafokpe. Is that right? Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry, I was muted. I didn't
Okay.
realize it.
Okay. I hope I pronounced your name well, Ajiri Omafokpe, right?
Yeah, pretty much. It's you tried.
Okay, because I saw something about you on the social media saying people can't actually pronounce your name. So I want to pick up on that. I hope I did well on that. All right. Let's get
Yeah.
started because I'm seeing a lady in the web product design is something different. And apart from the glasses, I'm not going to be teasing you today. Apart from the glasses, the web design is a very difficult thing for most people. Yes, you're already laughing at that. It's a very difficult thing for most ladies. They just feel, oh, it's not my thing. It's more of the main thing. But I want to believe that you'll be sharing all of your experience with us today so that young women out there can learn because it's the Women's Month. All right.
Yeah.
So, who is Ajay Omafoko outside the web design thing? Come back to that, but first, let's get to know about you.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't get your question.
All right, I said outside the web design stuff. I said after the web design stuff, who is Ajere Omafope? Can people get to know about you just outside the web design stuff so that we'll come back to the web design stuff and we'll know we are dealing with a tech person. So let's get to know about that.
All right. So outside designing web and applications, I'm basically someone that likes to go on adventures. So I like to travel a lot as much as I can. I like to I seek out experiences that most people would not. You'd find me be watching the sunset, learning to surf, many different alternative kind of things. I do enjoy those very much, and so I spend a lot of time doing them. Um, because of my love for adventure and adrenaline and everything, am a power biker. I ride a power bike. It's quite intense and interesting, and I like to do many other things. There's so many things on my bucket list I haven't done yet, but if it has to do with adventure and everything around that, I am there 100%. So
Okay.
those are the basics about me.
Mm.
Yeah.
All right, that's good. It's more like you do more of the men thing. That's why you're a woman, right?
I don't know what you mean by men things. I don't think there's anything
Like
that
riding,
is
riding a bike. I mean,
specific.
riding a bike. Okay.
I know so many women that ride bikes too, so it's yes, it is male populated or like populated by men, but there are also quite a good number of women that also ride. Yeah.
Okay. Now let's get started with this question. What's your idea of technology as it relates to women and young girls? Because you're back into the tech world, like I said. So what's your idea of technology as it relates to women and young girls?
Well, I would say technology as it relates to women and young girls is broad and for everybody basically. Like right now, there are so many aspects of the technology space. You have people building, you have people creating, you have people selling those products that are built, you have people doing advertising for it, you have people doing marketing for it, you have people trying to make sure that it has good quality, you have people handling the legal side of it, You have people handling operations. So there are many different aspects to making a tech product work. And
Mhm.
yeah, so women and girls, regardless of what you're interested in, there's space for you in the technology um, ecosystem,
Well,
basically.
now, what's this Web3 design all about?
What?
What is this Web3 design? What is it all about? Because to some other person, the word itself is voluminous. So, what is it all about?
All right. Now I'm going to start explaining. So first off, before we get to, let's talk about Web3 first before we talk about what Web3 design is. So basically,
Okay.
um, the web as we know it has gone through three stages of development or growth. The first one being Web 1. So if you remember when the internet was first introduced, you could only interact with the information that you get on the internet, right? So back then, it's
Mm-hmm.
only web developers that could actually create stuff, and whatever they create and give to you, you have to use it like that, right? So there was no fact check. You don't come and say, "Oh, this isn't right" or "This isn't me." It was just whatever is there is what is there, and there was no interaction. So that's Web 1, read only, right? And then you have Web
Mm-hmm.
2. So the advent of Web 2 came about when we started to have interactive platforms. So think about when blogs became rampant, right? Everybody owned a blog, you could write a blog, people could come comment on the blog, right? So you could now not only read, you could also write, right? And that's what the Web 2 space is all about. So think about everything that we have right now around creation. We have Facebook, Twitter, even this StreamYard, right? It's allowing you create. Basically, you are giving to the internet, right? This wasn't possible before, but the advent of the Web 2 technology made it possible. So now for Web 3, there's a third aspect to it, right? It is read, write, and own. So the Web3 space is basically a combination of multiple things, from the blockchain ecosystem to everything under it to cryptocurrencies that are still under the blockchain, multiple products that are built on the blockchain. So when you think, you have to think decentralization, anonymity, and the ability to own the things that you create, right? So the Web3 space is all
Mm-hmm.
about freedom. It's all about having all that you create bring value to you as you bring value to it, basically. So in the Web3 space, you find that something like this event we're having right now, you could essentially monetize it by creating tokens and say, oh, only people that have these tokens can participate, right? Or you have like NFTs tied into the platform that can appreciate,
Mm-hmm.
and more people adopt it, right? So it's just a lot of things. And you also think about the advent of AI, right? That's also
Yeah.
like a aspect of the web that is coming up, and it all ties together to make up the ecosystem. You know, think the metaverse, everything about digital reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, augmented reality, right? All of that all come together to shape the Web3 space as is.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're talking about design in the Web3 space, it's just basically you deciding to specialize, all right? And the reason why it is particularly distinct as it is right now is because you need a certain level of knowledge to even build products for the Web3 space, because the Web3 space is still pretty early, right? A lot of things have not been broken down properly. So it's not business as usual. You can't just come in and use the knowledge that you already have, right? You have to
Mm-hmm.
actually be in this space, immerse yourself in this space, do work in this space, learn in this space, keep be up to date with trends, new ways to onboard, new ways to do this, new ways to do that, new tech, because things are changing very fast. So the
Yeah,
things you
that's
knew
true.
last month you this month. And so that's
Mm.
why people that are Web3 designers are usually quite distinct. It's just like specializing in any field. You can be a fintech designer, you can be an e-commerce
Mm.
designer, you can be anything. But the difference between that and this space is that for the bulk of the other spaces in Web 2, you're already used to them. You already use them in some way. So it's easier. You don't need to do extra learning. You don't need to do extra keeping up with the trends because it's already a part of your life, right? But for the
Mm.
Web3 space, you have to be a lot more, you have to be more involved and all of that. So that's why you would find that we have that distinction, Web2 designers and Web3 designers.
Okay. All right, that's explicit, Abika. I want to ask you something because you just mentioned knowledge, you have to learn more, you have to do more. And most women, yes, it's a really small, but when it comes to technology, they find it difficult to go the extra mile. And when you talk about tech, you have to be focused. You don't get distracted easily. Now, coming to you as a Web3 designer, how is your influence on the young women around you? Have you actually influenced them? Will you say in your own words, now not mine, that they are focused? Let's say you have a class you're teaching. Will you say they are focused? Will you say they get tired? Will you say they have fears? Will you say they are confused? How do you get to influence them using your web to design knowledge?
All right. So first of all, we're already fighting a systemic and a background issue, which is how women are raised. Most women are not raised to take on challenges, to be
Mm-hmm.
assertive, to push through, to do hard work other than hard work in the home, right? And everything else is
Yeah.
seen as a random rather than the main thing. So you
Mm.
find that a lot of people um, struggle at first with staying consistent. And by people, whenever I say people, please, I mean women in this case. Um, so what I usually do is the best way to show them is to show them basically. So I get women around me, both online, offline, and then I show them what I do, how I do it, how it works, how everything goes, and how they can also participate in this economy, right? I saw research that was conducted. If you, I can't remember when it was conducted, but I saw a research that said that currently in South Africa, the number of en- women engineers, like software engineers, outnumber the men. And what you would find is that's very interesting news because it means that a lot of work has gone into um, increasing awareness, trainings, and all of that. And while this is not the case in many other parts of the world, we're hoping that very soon, there can be equity in that sense. And that's why I like to do things like this, show up at events like this to contribute in my own way to the ecosystem and to show as many young women as possible that it is possible to be all these things and have all of these things that you actually dream of, right? It is possible. You can do it, and you just need to sit down, put in the work, and you will actually get all that you desire. Yeah, that's it for me, basically. You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
I said part of the things SieDi-Hub is doing is that they're celebrating the anniversary, a year old today, and they, as much as I know, want to give back through innovation through tech. Talking about tech as it relates to women and the International Women's Day, which part of the theme is embrace equality. Will you say women in particular in 5 years to come, in 3 years to come, will be able to embrace technology to the fullest?
Well, I
Did
think
you
there are
get
a
that?
lot of, yes, I did get that. I think there are a lot of initiatives that are currently ongoing, trying to onboard more women into tech. And I think we can actually do better than is already being done. I personally have a mentorship group that is 90% women, right? And I make sure that as much as possible, because I know that there's already that bias, there's already like things are already skewed in against women. I try to skew it the other way whenever I am doing trainings or trying to carry mentorship or assist in any way, right? So as much as possible, I think we need to do more, but on in the
Okay.
pace that we're going in the next 5-10 years, yeah, I do believe that they will be closer. I cannot say absolutely that we will be there, but I would say we'll be a lot closer to achieving equity and equality, because there are still so many things to consider: the gender pay gap,
Mm.
uh, so many things in the workplace, so many biases that we have to break down, and all of that. Yeah.
Okay. Now let's look at the challenges as it relates to the gap as well that you have mentioned. What are the gaps in the tech world or the tech ecosystem? What are the gaps women get to face? Can you mention some of them and how these gaps can, be managed? Might not be able to
All
take
right.
all of it out, but how do we manage them?
I would say first off, whenever you so there's first the gender pay gap, right? So you find that in most organizations, men are paid more than women. Every year there's this bot on Twitter, gender pay gap, that comes in and drops like statistics on Happy International Women's Day tweets that companies put out. And yeah, it helps to highlight that, okay, more women are paid less than their male counterparts for doing the exact same work, and for no reason other than there's just a bias, right? And
Mm.
that's something we all have to be very particular and careful about, to make sure that we are not perpetrating that bias, basically. So if you have an organization and you're working and you want to hire, you have to make sure that the there's equity with regards to your salaries, right? Let there be a salary scale, and then everybody has their level. If you're at this level, you should be earning this. People shouldn't be earning arbitrarily, right? And the whole question of asking, oh, what is your expected salary, should just be scrapped, because you know research has shown that more men are likely to call higher salaries than women, because women have been conditioned socially to think that they should take whatever crumbs they can get and not be audacious enough to ask for more. So it's good to
Okay.
just have a salary range and try as much as possible to pay along the upper echelon of that, according to the person's experience, abilities, and the work that they do. And then something else I've also noticed is that most of the time women are not given an opportunity to prove themselves on time. So you find that you're working at an organization and you have to literally
Mm.
drag and drag and drag before you really get to do work that moves the needle, right? And you just be
Mm.
surprised, like, oh, maybe there's even a man there that doesn't even have up to your expertise, and they're doing more rewarding and more fulfilling work and more
Mm.
valuable work. Like, why am I not getting these things to do? And they're like, we don't want to stress you. Is that why we're here? Am I here so you don't stress me? No, I'm here because I am competent enough to get the job in the first place. And then I
Hello.
can actually do the job, right? Yeah, so yeah.
Mm. All right, we have some comments here. This one from Chimere says we can't hear you half. And I hope you can hear us now. And this other one, are you able to hear now? Okay. And Jonathan is saying yes. More needs to be done. Let's just look from what Jonathan said as it aligns with the gap you have mentioned. Uh, more needs to be done. Would you say awareness is a better approach to use for more things to be done when it comes to tech?
Sorry, I didn't get that question.
Okay, I mean, Jonathan said yes, more needs to be done. And I want to align that with the challenges or gap that you have mentioned. Will you say awareness is a better approach to resolve that, or there are other approaches that can be used? Can you share that with us?
Yeah, so I think there needs to be more, how do I put it? A lot of times there are these events like this where the
Mm.
majority of the attendees are women. Most women already know what the problems are, right? So we need to actually do more events and get men in those events so that they can hear and get this awareness. Because if you're talking to the same exact set of people all the time, and these same people are
Mm.
not the people perpetrating this inequality, right? Because you cannot perpetrate inequality if you don't even have any power to do it at all, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we need to have these conferences and then have men populating it, not women. So while we have the ones to encourage more women to get into tech, show them what they can do, who they can be, and all of that, we also need to do conferences for men to teach them, right? And to
Mm.
show them that, oh, you have this bias, we all have this bias, and this is, you are in a better position to um basically scatter this bias because you already have the power, you already are in
Mm.
places of authority to make these changes, right? So I think that's one major thing we
Mm.
need to think about in coming months, years, right? How do we have these events and conferences where
Mm.
we have majority of the attendees being men and not women, right? Like, men focused events that talk about these inequalities and all of these things rather than basically just talking to a sample, because it's the same thing every time, and we basically need to change that and fix up.
Mm. All right, thank you for that. I was talking about you having a mentoring class. Now, do
Yes.
you do mentoring down to the level of secondary school, primary school? Because we always have this saying that catch them young. So when you catch them young, it will be better than just allow them to get old. I mean, old like in 30 before you catch them. Because most times people find it difficult to operate, and you call the system, right? They enjoy operating their phones. And this revolves around tech. So what do you do in your mentoring practice? Does it revolve around young ones like the secondary school, the primary school, or just leave it for the middle age?
All right. Right now, the bulk of my work is focused on, like, after secondary school people. But I recently volunteered for an initiative by the Teens Can Code or Lagos 360, I think. Forgotten the exact name, but it's Get Towards
I didn't see that. The name of
Teens Can Code.
okay.
Yeah. So they have an
Okay.
initiative right now to teach secondary school students tech and all of that. So I volunteered for that, right? And so I should be starting off pretty soon. right? We haven't found like time to finalize all the details because of my schedule and all of that. So that's one thing I am doing for um secondary school and younger. When I was much younger, I used to go around to all these schools. I had like a group with my friends, and would have these talks with them, and all of that. But yeah, thanks for pointing that out. Actually, I do need to, other than like friends and family, people around me, I don't
Mm.
really actively do that, and that's actually quite important. So yeah.
Do you embrace collaboration? Because I see SieDi-Hub thinking you up in this. So do you embrace collaboration from other partners? Or if you have done, apart from the latest things that you intend to do, if you have done something that has to do with collaboration on tech, can you share some of the ideas and your uh, your challenges that you experience for young people coming up in the tech?
Um, I don't think I completely got the bulk of it. You started off asking if I do collaboration, and then
Yes,
I
with partners.
with third parties
Did you
like
get that
side.
or repeat it again?
Yeah, please take it again.
Okay, I said, do you do collaboration? That is one. Then if you do, what are the challenges that you have encountered? And how do you get to relate these challenges to the young people coming up on the tech stuff?
Mm, okay. Um, yes, I do collaborate. I collaborate at work. I try to collaborate as much as possible. I think that collaboration is very important because you really can't do everything by yourself, and you know, reaching out to other people and working with them would help you reach more people and do it faster. I know what it says. If you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go with other people. So
Yeah.
I think the major challenge with collaboration is sometimes is finding organizations that are ready to put in the structure, right? Because I
Mhm.
haven't said that, so I can't say for real, because I know there are quite a lot
Mm.
of people like social work around all of this, and am personally very passionate about social work, giving back, and all of that, right? But I don't
Mm.
have the time to organize a lot of these things because I have a full time job and I have a couple of other things I already do to help the ecosystem, right? So if there are opportunities like this, right, of course I will jump on
Mm.
them to collaborate and all of that.
Okay.
Yes, I completely agree with you. Yeah, I want to talk about what Uka Mba says. We should start looking at ways of providing facilities or resources to women in grassroots to get them involved. Unavailability of resources have been hampering their involvement too. Yes, 100%. I was actually like last year or 2 years ago, I was thinking of starting a project, but I didn't have the funds for it, right? It's basically
Mm.
a like tech grassroots type of thing where we go
Mm.
to like in each local government, right? I plan to start like in my village because that's the one I know and I can easily organize things there, right? Go to each local government, find a central village, right? And have a tech
Yeah.
hub there. Yeah. So
Mm.
it doesn't have to be anything too glamorous. So maybe 10, 20 computers, you know, mostly for children and young adults. They can come, find people that can teach them, let there be internet there, just all of that.
Mm.
Now that I mentioned it, and I just remembered, right? Because these things are important. Because if you don't have access to a computer, for example, how will you even practice tech? So, and the bulk of them don't even
Mm.
have access to phones, and a lot of them are very smart, right? Whenever I go to the village, I'm just really pained because there's only so much I can do. The bulk of these things the government is supposed to help out, like in schools there should be computers and all of that, but we find that these things are
Mm.
not ready. So if there's any organization that is ready to take this up, I'll be glad to support, pull resources from everywhere that I can to make sure that we can get this working and get it to happen. Yeah.
Okay. Let me just highlight what Bah said. He said exactly men need these conferences more because there's a lot of movement already for women. I want to agree with that. That there's a lot of movement for women. So can you hear me?
Yes.
So in your own little way, because you talked about using your village, as just a start to do something. In your own little way, will you focus more on the boy child or otherwise?
For me, I think most people in those organized, like in villages, for example, are usually it usually affects everybody, right? Because poverty is a general problem, and
Mm-hmm.
although we find that more men get to like leave those spaces and come out and make something of themselves because the family will contribute and help them, but there are less women. So what I would do is first prioritize women, right? But still allow young boys that are interested in learning and all of that come into. But the bulk of like the priority would be to find as many young girls as possible, young girls and young adults, basically.
Okay. I wanted to ask you something that has to do with the negative part of tech. Maybe you might not see it as a negative part of tech, but we understand these days that there's this Photoshop, there's this graphic design. You can just come up with something that might not really be true. Do you see it as a negative part of tech in the society?
Uh, I think that everything has its negatives and positives. It depends on how you use it, right? In every industry, people are always they are always bad actors. Doesn't mean we should stop doing the work that we need to do. Even in the non-profit industry, like you're in, there are people that just create NGOs, collect money, and relocate to their family, and they don't actually use the money for the things that it was meant for, right? So in that case, would you
Yeah.
say, let's scrap all non-profit organizations because there are a few bad actors? No. So people would always find ways to game the system, to do things that are not helpful, right? But we just need to essentially do what needs to be done when it needs to be done, and that's it. The people that will benefit will definitely be more than the people that will use it for bad
Mm.
influence.
Thank you for that response because we need to clear the air. In the society, a lot of people are into so many things because they want to make money. And these days, anybody can just come up with something. You just need to verify, like you talked about fact checking or tracking uh, issues. Now, as regards SieDi-Hub anniversary, when it comes to innovation, what do you have to say to them? It's a new non-governmental organization that is coming up here in Aba. And they are into so many things, still trying to get their hands on so many things. So, what would be your advice when it comes to tech? I mean, going in depth to the community, what would be your advice for them?
I would say try to get as many women volunteers as possible, right? Something as simple as learning to stream like this, right? Could be a money maker for someone. I know someone back in the day that used to make money from streaming like this. They'll go to organizations, tell them, "Oh, I can help you stream these things," and then they just set up the streaming and they make their daily 2K, as you say it, right? So bringing as many women in, teaching them to use tech for good, right? Teaching them to use the basics, teaching them to use tech ethically, all of that. That would really help to spur innovation, because it's when you know that something is possible that you can think about how to extend the possibilities of that thing. So, That is essentially innovation.
Okay. Now let me put it to you directly. Will you say your tech journey has been smooth all the way? Because there's something I'm still trying to get. You've not really actually dropped that. The difficulties you encounter. I want to get that's the main experience for me. I want to know how you felt when you were learning all those things. At some point, did you get tired? At some point, did you say, I can do it? At some point, did you say, I'm not just a woman, but I am a special species and I can do better? Let's get to hear that from
All right. When I started my tech journey, I was always very interested in anything that had to do with computers and phone from when I was a child. I was lucky enough, right, to, when cyber cafes started becoming popular, um, I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to go there and learn. And yeah, good memories. So I was able to learn how to use Microsoft Word, Microsoft Office in its entirety, right? Because I was just lucky to have a, the ability to basically learn all those softwares. So when I was 11, 12, I started like that. And thankfully, my family was supportive, right? Because it was very new. Nobody really understood what it was. And they allowed me most days. My brother would go with me because I was quite young, right? My brother is, well, is older, like a lot older. So he will go with me, make sure I get back home safe, all of that. And that's how things started to continue. And then when I was like 13, 14, my brother got a laptop for the house. I spoilt it because I was a little too
you. I was
inquisitive.
listening
I
to, I
opened
was
it up.
actually waiting to hear that part.
Yeah, I opened it up and I destroyed it. And so there was no laptop for me to use for a while. But after a while, I started to use other people's laptops. Then there was another laptop that I still spoilt. And yeah, so I was privileged in that sense. A lot of the things I'm doing right now would not have been possible if I didn't get that early exposure to the internet, to everything around tech and whatnot. So as I went on, I still had another serendipitous moment when I met this person that eventually became my mentor at an event, right? So another thing, you
Mm,
always go to events, attend events. You meet
mm,
people, you would find mentors, you would at the very least get motivation to continue,
mm,
right? At this time I was already at university in my second or third year, I can't remember when. So it was a business event. I had this small business I was running at the time with my friends. So we went there to just get some knowledge. And we're very excited because the business was able to pay our fee, pay our lunch, pay everything. And we're just very happy that, okay, at least we're doing something that makes sense. And so afterwards, we went on to meet this person. And that was how I actually got introduced to proper design, right? So
mm.
he living a very big boy life. He had a good car. Was using a MacBook at the time. Like I didn't. It was my first time seeing a MacBook in person. It was so flat, and I was like, I want that. Right. He was also using an iPhone 6. It was mind blowing for me because I think it was the year it came out in 2015. This 2015. I think so, 2015 or 2016. I can't remember one of the years. It was sure the latest every. It was the latest everything, and
Mm.
yeah. So he used to always hammer on, oh, learn a skill, learn a skill, learn a skill, learn a skill. His name is
Mm.
Tobore David, by the way. He's a pastor now. Um,
Okay.
yeah, he used to hammer on learn a skill, and so started to learn, my friends and I, and we're all doing pretty good right now, right? Thanks to him and all of that push and all of that. So when I started, I was doing rubbish, to be honest. And then he was like, oh, you need to learn. He introduced us to so many things, like places we could get
Mm,
online courses like Udemy and all of that, Skillshare. So that was where we went and we learned. Then I did my first internship in 2017. It was very hard because I was very broke. And when you're done with
mm,
school, nobody really pays a lot of mind to you. And so a lot of
mm.
days we had to go hungry just so we'll have transport, right? Or we'll trek just so
Mm,
we'll eat. It was very difficult, to be honest. It was a very difficult 6 months. So at the end of that, it was time for me to go for service. I carried my load and I ran away because I was like, what kind of suffering is this? And so I went to service, and things even got a little more difficult because my laptop that I had was really giving me trouble. I had to use like an external keyboard, external mouse, because nothing was working. It was basically just a monitor at that point. But I just tried, continued. Most days I did not have the right. But on the days when I did, I would try, I would design. I wasn't making money. I was designing for free, right? Because like I didn't have the skill set to even charge anybody for anything. My designs were manageable at best. They weren't something that you just money from somebody, right? I, the first time I got paid for my design, I think it was like 2K or something. And
Are
I
you
was
happy
very
about that?
happy. I was very happy in 2018. Like
Yeah.
2,000 naira. I'm rich now. It helped me, sort a few things I needed to sort. At least I was able to eat something good that day, and then my career just went uphill from there. And yeah, so in 2019, I moved back to Lagos, and then I did this course by Bolanle Bao. She's the founder of Geniza Brands and the Female Designer Movement, right? So the same
Wow.
pastor, mentor person introduced me to her, and I didn't even have money that period because I was doing one job that was paying me. Ha, sometimes at the end of the month, I would get like 16K, 20K, 22,000. In 2019, I was going through it. And so when I saw that, oh, she had a class, it looked very exciting to me. I was like, oh my God, this person looks aspirational. Like, she looked like the kind of person I wanted to become, right?
Good.
I kept
Yeah.
stopping her. Can I pay half? Can I pay 4 times? Because it was 50,000. And my salary sometimes used to reach 20 something. So I was like, if I work very hard this month, I can get like 20K, so I can pay like 3 times, right? But it was also a very trying period in my family because my mom had to do my mom had to go through like surgery. So I had to shuffle back and forth Delta State and Lagos for my class. So it was a very, very, very trying period. But I'm glad that I stayed put and I did that. And I learned some things that were very pivotal for me to move to the next stage of my career. And then I got my first job, interestingly, in Web3 in 2019, and it's just been uphill from there.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
actually an interesting one. Listening to your experience, I know there's more you hope to tell us. But before then, let's just go to some of these comments and read what they have. Like talking about using streaming. And some persons have said that it's actually a good thing, but they don't know that, okay, they can actually make money from streaming. And this one is still from Mba. He said, I think we should start looking at ways of providing facilities or resources to women in the grassroots to get them involved. Unavailability of resources have been hampering their involvement too. I guess you want to agree with me on that. There are some comments, so I'll just quickly take it, then you can respond to some of the comments. And this one is from Chino. It says, as a woman in tech, what has been the challenges and limitations? She wants to get your response. And this one is from Ode Imo Chinasa. It says, thank you for mentioning this. We take opportunities like streaming for granted, forgetting that it can be an empowerment and opportunity for people to render services as skills. Like you said earlier on, mentoring is one key. And somebody has actually mentored you, and you are seeing it in your life now that it's a good thing. Can you just respond to this, the questions they have asked? And I have something for you as well that you need to respond to. Go ahead.
All right. Which one should I respond to first? Challenges and limitations.
Yes.
All right. My first limitation, I think, is a general one. Is poverty, right? Um, Not having access to a lot of things made my journey a lot slower, right? So, even though that's not specific to, I'm sure a lot of people would be able to.
Are you there?
Um, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. We are actually running out of time.
All right. Yeah. So I
Hello?
was saying,
Go ahead.
all right. So the major challenges are the bulk of the things I've already talked about. Like you're trying to get a job, you're lowballed, you're getting a lowball offer. I've actually heard someone in HR say, "Are you not a woman? What do you need so much money for?
That's
Uh, You're
discrimination.
not, you're not taking care of a family. You're not providing for a family. So what do you need that kind of money for?" Say like that young man over there is about to get married. He's going to start taking care of a family. So I would pay him more because of that.
Mm,
You know, it sounds terrible, but it's what a lot of people think in their
mm,
heads, right? And it's sad. So that's like one of the obstacles. And then when you think about like what said about like getting to like have smaller things to do at work because they do not necessarily feel like you can handle the large roles and responsibilities. And then you have to do so much more to prove yourself, right? So things that a man would do. So if a man has to do 1 to 5 to prove that he's good at his job, as a woman, you most times have to do at least 1 to 8, 1 to 10 before the
mm.
same level of respect will be accorded to you. And that's a major challenge and it's always quite stressful. Thankfully, where I work currently, I don't have all these challenges, right? But in all, it's something that a lot of women go through. The bulk of all these things, I've experienced them at one point or the other in my career, and
Mm.
yeah. So I think the best thing we can do is to not keep quiet. At my last workplace, they used to call me fire because I was freedom fighter. I would not even allow anything slide. Once I see that there's one drop of injustice somewhere, especially towards a woman, I've already gone to fight. I was always fighting for everybody and everything and the country even, right? Because it was an international organization. If I see anything that
Oh,
looks like seems to have been discriminated, I don't go fight. Dear HR,
all right.
so I
Thank you
think
very much.
more people should do that, right? Yeah, we should be able to speak up when you see something going wrong. Because the more you keep quiet and murmur about it or talk about it with your friends, it's not getting into the ears of the people that need to hear it, right? And that's not
Mm.
the way it can be solved, right? So yeah, so if you see something, say something. It's always said. Yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
All right. Thank you very much. Of course, we're enjoying your time, but definitely we have to go because if we don't go, somehow we'll be kicked out completely. But in everything we do, as SieDi-Hub celebrates anniversary, we want to say to them to keep
Can't hear you.
the line of making women innovative. We shouldn't give up at the grassroots, just like Mba has said, that's a very important point. And despite Ajere sharing her experience, that was an interesting one. And it actually got me thinking, should I go learn another skill? Of course, I will do that. Ajiri Omafokpe, I want to say thank you for being with us today. Thank you for sharing your tech experience. It's a beautiful thing having to see you live here, not in physical somewhere else. But I hope to see you in the future and to do something with you, just like SieDi-Hub will be doing something with you soon. Because when you talk about streaming live, I guess the executive director heard that. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for sharing your experience once more with us. And we want to say thank you again and again.
You're welcome. It was great being here.